teaching overseas isn't always done by cash-strapped students who hustle to work several tutoring jobs. It can also be a lucrative career opportunity for qualified and experienced teachers. In this episode, we explore the world of teaching abroad at international schools and hear about how one teacher made over $100,000 a year teaching overseas while traveling, shopping, and dining out to her heart's content. Teaching overseas has long been associated with young people fresh out of college. There's a stereotype of folks peddling lessons in English in exchange for dorm-like digs and a meager paycheck. Of course, there's the appeal of travel and the immersion in another country, but we typically consider teaching abroad as something you do for the experience, not the money. But what if that perception of teaching abroad was wrong? It certainly was for one teacher who managed to gain all the experiences of teaching in a foreign country while making six figures in a year. Onika Raymond is a full-time traveler and also a journalist, blogger, and influencer. But before she was able to support herself through her content, Onika was an international educator. Not only did her experience teaching abroad allow her to support her dream of traveling, but it also made her money. A lot of money. This is exactly how she did it. Onika taught in international schools. Although this path is lesser known and more challenging than the traditional way of teaching English abroad, it's also much more lucrative and stable. Instead of working in a language school or hustling to get private students, teachers in international schools work at institutions that cater to the children of expatriates. Most international schools follow an American, British, Canadian, or international baccalaureate curriculum, so you're likely already familiar with how they function. But the student population is made up of children of diplomats, CEOs of international companies, or other affluent families. To teach in an international school, you'll need a degree or certificate from your home country. This approach is perfect for people who are already teaching since you've got the requirements sorted. And since you already have these qualifications, you are able to tap into the advantages international schools have to offer, mainly great pay and benefits. Onika points out that this is only true if you're choosy about where you teach. Some countries pay significantly more than others. The top paying regions for international school teachers are usually Asia and the Middle East, with Europe and Latin America being the lowest on the pay ladder. China, Thailand, and Singapore offer incredible salaries, and Onika took advantage of this by teaching in Hong Kong for 5 years. According to Onika, a teacher with a bachelor's degree, teaching license, and 2 years of experience can expect to make at least $80,000 annually teaching at a Hong Kong international school. She also points out that the working hours are much less compared to U.S. teaching jobs, and most teachers receive nearly 14 weeks of paid holiday. Additional degrees, experience, or leadership roles will move your pay well into the six-figure range, and Onika made even more by supplementing her salary with tutoring. Per-hour rates in Hong Kong average around $80 an hour, so teachers can easily bring in an extra $1,000 or more from private tuition. Onika made fantastic money teaching at international schools in Hong Kong, but the earnings can be even higher in other places. The Aramco schools in Saudi Arabia and several schools in Zurich, Switzerland offer starting salaries at over $100,000. However, Onika points out that Saudi Arabia is often referred to as a hardship post, since local laws and customs can make living there difficult for many Westerners. And Switzerland's cost of living is so high, the salary is actually relatively modest based on local averages. Of course, no matter your salary, other factors play into how much you walk away with at the end of each month. Cost of living, taxes, currency conversions, and spending habits must be considered when choosing a teaching career at an international school. Onika worked as an international teacher for 8 years in various locations around the world. Her first international school teaching job was in Mexico and paid $30,000 a year. It sounds like chump change compared to what is on offer in Saudi Arabia. But that income was tax-free, and she received free housing, utilities, transportation, and a food supplement. All of those benefits allowed her to travel, eat at restaurants, shop, and pocket a lot of her paycheck. At the end of the year, she had saved $10,000. Onika was also able to save money in Hong Kong. Rent was expensive. She paid $2,000 a month for a one-bedroom walk-up. but transportation, food, and taxes were all extremely affordable. She says that with a bit of discipline, it's not too difficult to save 40% of your salary. Onika was able to pay off her student loans, pay for her master's degree, and still save anywhere from $25,000 to $40,000 a year while still traveling, eating out, and shopping. Onika's story is definitely inspiring for teachers considering a change and looking for a more lucrative gig. But she also makes sure to point out that it's essential to recognize the challenges associated with teaching in an international school. Many are elite institutions where expectations from administrators and parents are high. But she says, teaching overseas has allowed me a financial liberation like no other. Because of the money I was able to save from my teaching jobs, I had the courage to quit and transition into my current gig as a freelance travel journalist, blogger, and influencer. Had I not had such a solid financial cushion, I still might be in the classroom today. Onika's story may seem too good to be true, but a bit of digging reveals that her experience isn't unusual. And some places have even higher salaries now than when she was teaching abroad a decade ago. Experienced teachers at international schools in the UAE can expect to make up to $6,000 a month, and the employer usually covers the cost of living. Two popular destinations for teachers in the UAE are Dubai and Abu Dhabi, both of which are world-class cities with your choice of restaurants, nightlife, beaches, cultural activities, and more. To top it off, the cost of living in the UAE is less than in the United States. Teachers at international schools in Japan can earn up to $5,000 a month with their housing covered. Some schools even offer additional incentives like free flights and bonuses. Japan's cost of living is higher than the US, but teachers who are able to secure a position with a housing allowance can save serious money and get a chance to travel to one of the most beautiful countries in the world. As Onika pointed out with her experience teaching in Mexico, another option is to approach your search for international teaching jobs based on the cost of living and perks. Teachers at international schools in Vietnam make around $2,000 a month, but the cost of living is minimal. You can rent a nice apartment for $200 a month, and transportation and food are both incredibly affordable. If you are interested in pursuing a career at an international school in another country, there is a bit of work that goes into it. You'll need to make sure that you are qualified. If you are already a classroom teacher in the US, chances are you are good to go. Still, more competitive schools may be on the lookout for candidates with higher degrees, more years of experience, or additional certifications. You'll also want to make sure you're familiar with the recruiting calendar. Many organizations that help place teachers in international schools begin filling spaces in October of the prior year, with spots finalized by January. You can also contact schools directly, but don't expect much more than a thank you as a reply, if any. Still, it's never a bad idea to have an administration familiar with your name and resume at the desired school. You will also want to invest time in researching to pick the right location and school for your experience. Nearly all the international schools have extensive websites and social media presence. The Office of Overseas Schools lists international schools by region, so you can begin picking a few each day to explore. Look at the programs they offer, the qualifications of the teachers on their staff, and the school calendar. Like Onika found in Hong Kong, some locations may have lots of time off, which can translate into traveling, returning home, or taking on extra jobs like private tutoring to earn even more. In addition to salary and housing allowances, there are other factors you will want to consider as well. If you would like to be able to travel home during your time off, look for schools that offer flight packages. Or consider the cost of frequent flights between your school and your home. Will you be able to afford it? Or will you be stuck miserably homesick for a year or more? Medical insurance is another factor. While it's usually included with overseas teaching contracts, the amount of coverage will vary. Some school policies don't cover pre-existing conditions or the cost of prescriptions. If you have dependents, you'll also want to check what coverage is provided for them and do a bit of research on the country's healthcare system you are considering. Other benefits to ask about include bonuses for completing your contract, relocation allowances, technology provided, incentives like gym memberships, free school meals, and even a free ski pass. There are several massive international school job fairs where administrators interview candidates on the spot and collect resumes. Attending one of these events can be stressful and overwhelming. Still, it may be your only opportunity to wow with an in-person interview before hiring decisions are made. So make sure you have plenty of resumes and lead with confidence. It's also important to approach the prospect of teaching abroad at an international school with flexibility. Don't pass up opportunities because they aren't in the city you've been dreaming of or require teaching an age group that isn't your favorite. You may be surprised at how much you end up liking a new place, and your experience gained there will make you an even more attractive candidate for your dream job in the future. Securing a teaching job at an international school can be a daunting task, but it can be well worth it. Onika is proof positive that teaching abroad can be incredibly lucrative, rewarding, and exciting. If you are looking for an alternative to your current teaching situation, spending some time exploring international schools is a great idea. It's especially appealing for teachers who have dependents, as the salary is often more than substantial to provide an excellent quality of life for a family while you immerse your children in a new culture. It's a bit more work than a TEFL certification, but teaching at an international school can lead to long-term financial and personal benefits that make it all worth it. Are you thinking of teaching abroad? Be sure to comment, share, like, and follow. Until next time.